In this video, I'm going to go over 5 ways that self-talk will increase your athletic performance. Now, self-talk involves just the way you talk to yourself, right? So this will be your thoughts that you have when you're playing, and it also can be, the words that you say to yourself. The reason that self-talk is so important is because of something known as the thought-feeling cycle. And this can also be called the thought, feeling, and action cycle. And this is an important thing for us to go over before I actually talk about the different ways that self-talk can increase your performance, because everything is built off of this thought, feeling, and action cycle. So what this cycle is where you have a thought, and that thought leads to a certain feeling that you have. Now that feeling is going to funnel back then to you having more thoughts. For example, you might think about how good the other team is and how you haven't been playing very well recently. This then leads to a feeling of anxiety and fear. Now that feeling of anxiety and fear will funnel back and feed into more anxious and fearful thoughts. What we also see happen though is that this has an impact on your actual performance, so your behavior or your actions. For this example, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling fearful, there's a good chance that you'll end up playing tense, and you might even play timidly and hold yourself back. But if we look at another example, a more positive example, we can see that if you're thinking before the game, I'm feeling great today, I'm excited to go play, then that leads to feelings of excitement and confidence, which feeds back into more of these positive feelings. Well, that's going to lead to a higher chance that you go out on the field or on the court and you play in a more aggressive and confident manner, so you probably end up playing better. This thought, feeling, and action cycle is a foundation of why self-talk is so important to you as an athlete. But there are 5 specific ways that more positive and productive self-talk will increase your athletic performance. And way number 1 is increased confidence. When you talk to yourself in a more positive, productive way, and just in a more confident way, you will see your confidence increase. For example, if you think, I've been playing really well recently. I believe in myself today. I know I can go out here and compete. That's going to have an incredible impact on your confidence. And you know that the more confident you feel, the better you're going to perform. Here's some examples of what some confident building self-talk might look like. I've got this. I believe in myself. I know I'll play great today. I've been playing great recently. I'm excited to go play. I know I can do this. Just very simple, confident building statements like that can do an incredible number on your confidence as an athlete. Another way self-talk will increase your performance is by improving your focus. The more focused you are when you play, the better you'll perform. Because when you're focused on what you're doing, you give that more attention and you give it more effort and energy. Now, self-talk will increase your focus because focus is directly linked to your thoughts. I want you to think about the last time that you were distracted during a game. Why were you distracted? Could you not stop thinking about that mistake you just made? Were you focused too much on a bad call, the other team, your coach, some fans, just whatever it might be? When we think about your focus and we think about times when you are distracted, for the most part, what's happening is you're thinking about something that you don't want to be thinking about at that moment. The way that self-talk can increase your performance through improved focus is by helping yourself let go of these distractions and refocus yourself in the present moment. My favorite way of using self-talk to improve focus is through a thought-stopping phrase. Now, a thought-stopping phrase is just something that you tell yourself in the moment to let go of distractions and refocus yourself on what you're doing. An example is from a basketball player that I was working with just this past week, and we were talking about how, during games, if he starts to worry about the fans, if he starts to worry about missing his shots, he needs to tell himself to let it go and just play. And if he tells himself that over and over again, this works to redirect his attention back just onto the game, which then allows himself to just play freely, and he does see his performance increase after that. A third way self-talk increases performance is that it helps with your training. When you are training, you can use self-talk in a similar way to a coach using their voice to talk to you and give you some different pointers. But what I really love about this is, you're the one out there who will be playing in a game and competing. And so if you've gotten really familiar with being able to talk yourself through certain drills, provide yourself with different cues when it comes to your technique and to your mechanics, then it will be easier for you during a game to remind yourself of these cues and to have similar success during the game like you do during practice. A great example of this is a softball player that I've been working with. And she and I were talking about, when she's hitting, what kind of cue does she want to use when she's hitting? So she came up with a cue for herself. And then she uses that cue when she goes into games to remind herself of the mechanics that she wants to have. Another example is actually from a catcher that I've been working with. He was struggling with the yips, which are a very frustrating thing for any athlete to deal with. And so he and I were talking about during practice, he wants to just focus on throwing it hard and focusing on the chest of the pitcher. I know that seems overly simple, but it works incredibly well. And so when he was focusing on that during practice, he just kept reminding himself of that using self-talk. And then during games, he focused on the same thing, and he's seeing a lot of success for himself right now during games. So you can use self-talk to help yourself, work on your training, talk yourself through your training and your technique, and remind yourself of these cues that you can then translate to games. A fourth way that self-talk will increase your performance is through increased motivation. So when we look at motivation for you as an athlete, we have listening to music, we have the idea of other people giving you speeches, like your coach giving you speeches, maybe a leader on your team or somebody else or your parents giving you some speeches. But the truth is, if you want real motivation as an athlete, that motivation has to come from within yourself. It can't come from external sources, because those external sources, they come and go. That motivation is there for a second and then it fades away. You need to have lasting motivation that comes from within yourself. And a great place to find this motivation is through your own thoughts, the way you're talking to yourself. If you can learn how to talk to yourself in a way that reminds you of, what you want out of playing, reminds you of what you want out of this game, why you should be training so hard, you will see an incredible increase in your motivation. And the last way that I want to mention self-talk can increase your performance is by reducing nerves and anxiety. The example I gave earlier about that thought-feeling cycle was how when you have some negative thoughts or anxious thoughts, this will lead to more of an anxious feeling, which then holds you back during games. The opposite will be true, though. If you have more calming thoughts, so if you say things like, it's okay. I know I can play well today. It's okay that I'm nervous. Just forget about that. Let's not worry about the outcome right now. Let's just focus on the process. Let's just focus on what I need to be doing right now to play my best. When you learn how to talk to yourself like that and talk yourself down, almost as though as you're talking down a teammate in a positive way, not talking them down like it's a negative thing, but talking them down where you're talking them down from being anxious. When you learn how to do that with yourself, then you gain the ability to calm yourself down to where you're not as anxious or as nervous going into games. So those are the 5 ways that self-talk can increase your performance as an athlete. Now, if you want to start using self-talk and leveraging it for your own success, then you need to create what's known as a self-talk routine. So what I've done right here is I've linked another video that goes into detail on how you can create your own self-talk routine as an athlete. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training.